So I grew up with that old Jumanji movie from the 90s, and it was never my favorite or anything, but it was unique and it definitely stuck with me. It made an impression. So when they decided to reboot the whole franchise a few years back, and it looked like they were going in a very different direction with it, I was very skeptical, and to be honest, the movie looked just really bad to me. I actually had no intention of even watching it just didn't really interest me. But then one day, basically on a whim, I decided to watch it anyway. And boy was I surprised, because I actually liked it. I thought it was funny. Now the plot itself, what happens when they enter the game, was kinda dumb. But I thought the gender swap idea was pretty fun, but the execution of it was even better. I mean, the casting and the idea of who was gonna play who was fantastic. And if you haven't seen the first movie, well, what are you even doing here? But also, in case you are genuinely unfamiliar with this whole concept, Jumanji is basically a game. In this iteration it's a video game, and the players get pulled into the game itself. And the whole gimmick of the first movie was this gender swap thing. The players get put into very different bodies than their own. For instance, Jack Black played a teenage girl, and I thought they all nailed it. I thought that aspect was great. And the writing was sharp, witty and funny, and that made the whole movie fun. Now when it comes to the sequel, this movie, I was still a bit hesitant, because the gimmick that made it fun was kinda played out, to be honest. And as I said, the story itself and the plot wasn't exactly anything special in the first movie. So I was afraid they would just rehash the same concept and not really do anything new with it. But at the same time, I was wondering what kind of new angles they might come up with. So I sat down to watch this being cautiously optimistic, which isn't my natural state. And well, at first it did look promising, because apparently Danny DeVito is in this. And I like him, and I liked him in this as well. He's just funny, so it's off to a good start. Then they of course get pulled back into the game and everything starts all over again. However, this time around it doesn't feel as fresh, because they're still doing the same gimmick. And we've already seen it. Also, this time around, I don't think the casting was nearly as good. Kevin Hart though did a great job, but The Rock, for instance, didn't really do it for me. I also didn't think the script was as sharp and funny as the first time around. And pretty much exactly what I was afraid of happened. They just basically did the same thing they did in the first one. Which means the story and the plot is just kinda whatever and not exactly very exciting. So this did feel just like a rehash of the first movie, and it brought very few new ideas with it. Which unfortunately was to be expected, but it was also a disappointment. I mean, there were like a couple of new ideas, but they didn't really make a difference. They didn't have any impact and felt sorta pointless at the end of the day. But I guess the movie as a whole at least was somewhat amusing. And that's its saving grace, because otherwise it would have fallen completely flat on its face. Now though, it kinda stumbled along, keeping me mildly entertained. So I didn't hate it, but it did feel like a bit of a pointless movie overall. Because what it did, the first one already did better, and this didn't improve on anything. Quite the opposite actually. So how about it? Would I recommend this? Nope, not really. Just go watch the first one instead. So I would say this one is fairly safe to skip, or you could not do that. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.